John Deere is in bigger trouble than anyone imagined. Layoffs, furious farmers, and even threats from Donald Trump. Over 2,800 workers just lost their jobs, and the company is still making billions. Is the company about to take a turn that no one saw coming? Profits over people.
280 additional John Deere workers in the Quad Cities are getting laid off.
And that's not even the whole story. This is just a piece of an entire year of cuts. But here's the real kicker. Rumors are swirling that his latest move could impact not just their workers, but the entire farming industry as we know it. What on earth is happening to him if it's not making some outrageous decision that leaves employees and farmers furious? It's picking fights with politicians who aren't afraid to call them out. Once a beloved company in the United States, John Deere is now stumbling into an awkward spotlight filled with criticism and scrutiny. The latest scandal at Deere? Layoffs. Again. This time, they're hitting workers in the Quad Cities area. That's Iowa and Illinois, for those keeping track. Since September of last year, he's been slashing jobs, letting go of hundreds of employees. Nearly 700 in Illinois, 290 in Davenport, and another 300 from their headquarters. With these recent layoffs, the total number of employees John Deere has let go since late 2023 is nearly 3,000, 2,888 to be exact. Of course, Deere gave their classic corporate excuse: reduced demand for products. Right? Except the company made over $10 billion in profit in 2023. And while they're busy laying off workers, they gave their CEO, John May, a compensation package worth $26 million that same year. Hard to swallow, isn't it? The truth that most people see is that these layoffs aren't about Deere struggling financially. It's clear that the workers are being sacrificed so that he can shift its operations to Mexico. The company is buying land there to build a facility, which will be up and running soon enough. Why are they doing this? It's simple. Costs. Labor is just too expensive in the United States, apparently. Labor costs make up more than half of their manufacturing overhead. American production managers might be earning around $56 an hour, but in Mexico, it's closer to $45. That's a big difference, especially for a company looking to cut expenses. In Mexico, wages are calculated daily, and they even include things like health insurance, which in the United States could be 3 times as costly. So, he's making this move to save money. But at what cost? The backlash is piling up, and for good reason. As if laying off workers and relocating jobs overseas weren't enough, the company is now facing intense criticism for making it nearly impossible for farmers to repair their own equipment. The right to repair movement has long pushed for farmers to have the freedom to handle their own repairs. And while the company claimed it would allow this, its actions tell a different story. Senator Elizabeth Warren has accused the company of withholding essential information in its manuals, leaving farmers with just enough guidance to require authorized services, and naturally, at a higher cost. Warren didn't mince words. She described the company's so-called repair tools as inadequate, suggesting they were designed more to keep farmers paying than to enable true independence. She also hinted at a potential violation of the Clean Air Act, arguing that the company's restrictions prevent people from working on their own emissions systems. This tight control over repair rights has, no doubt, helped the company maintain soaring profit margins. Profits that have surged by an astonishing 270% since 2020. For farmers, already frustrated by these restrictions, it's become clear they've had enough. And it's not just Warren who's had enough. Donald Trump weighed in too, and whether you like him or not, he knows how to make threats. He said if John Deere moves production to Mexico, he'll slap a 200% tariff on every product they try to sell back into the United States. Imagine buying a $100,000 tractor, only to find out it costs $300,000 because of tariffs. That's the kind of trouble Deere is inviting if they continue moving jobs out of the Midwest. And let's not forget the United Auto Workers, UAW. They're not happy either. They've condemned the layoffs and pointed out the irony. While workers are losing their jobs, John Deere spent over $7 billion on stock buybacks in 2023 alone, $43 billion in the last 2 years. They're buying back stocks to keep shareholders happy while throwing workers under the bus. It really paints a picture of a company more interested in boosting shareholder value than taking care of the workforce that made him the giant it is today. He's at a crossroads, no doubt about it. Should they keep pushing these controversial decisions and risk alienating farmers, workers, and even political heavyweights? Or should they rethink their approach, address these growing concerns, and try to win back the trust they've lost? Deere has a choice: protect their reputation and legacy, or chase the bottom line and risk becoming irrelevant. Corporate greed over community. For now, Deere's management insists that the layoffs and the move to Mexico aren't connected. They say it's about economic projections and efficiency. But anyone paying attention knows it's about cutting labor costs. John Deere has to decide whether tarnishing a nearly 200-year-old brand is really worth a few extra dollars in profit. If he wants to maintain its standing in the community, they need to understand that their responsibility doesn't end at the factory gates. It extends to the people in Illinois and Iowa, communities that have depended on the jobs, economic stability, and support that he has provided for generations. The truth is, if Deere decided to recall those workers and abandon their plans to shift production south of the border, it would demonstrate a real commitment to the community. They'd show that they actually care about the people who have fueled their success for decades. Instead of focusing on pleasing Wall Street, maybe it's time for Deere to remember what really made them who they are: the workers in their factories, the farmers who rely on their equipment, and the communities that have stuck by them all these years. Otherwise, John Deere might just find itself plowing a lonely field, left behind by the people it once served. But there's more to this story than just layoffs and right to repair. The issues run deep, and the consequences could be severe if he doesn't change its approach. The American heartland has long been a symbol of his success. This is where the company first grew its roots, where workers and farmers alike helped build the name into something respected and iconic. Moving jobs away from these communities is more than just a financial decision. It's a betrayal of the very people who helped make him what it is today. Consider the risk involved in moving these jobs to Mexico. It's not merely about balancing dollars and cents. It's about loyalty, community ties, and trust. Farmers, who have long been the backbone of the company's customer base, are already feeling distanced. Their frustrations extend beyond just the layoffs to rising equipment prices and the ongoing struggle for repair rights. These are far from minor issues. They're tied to livelihoods and the ability to maintain farms without exorbitant costs just to fix a tractor. Then, there's the political angle. By shifting production to Mexico, the company is placing itself squarely in the political spotlight. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are voicing criticism, from Senator Elizabeth Warren's pointed remarks to former President Trump's outspoken threats. No matter their political affiliation, politicians are finding common ground in challenging the move. Why? Because it's perceived as yet another example of corporate gains overshadowing community responsibility. It's a story that resonates with voters. Hard-working Americans facing job losses, while CEOs earn millions and shareholders benefit from massive stock buybacks. On paper, moving production south of the border might seem practical to accountants, but it's a public relations challenge. This decision projects an image of a company more interested in exploiting lower wages than supporting American workers, which clashes with its long-held reputation for rugged American reliability. The tractors, once seen as iconic symbols of the heartland, embodying the spirit of those who use them, now face a perception shift. How does that image endure when these tractors are manufactured across the border simply to cut costs? Beyond the layoffs and shifts in production, there's a deepening rift between the company and the farmers it serves. The right to repair issue has become a major sticking point, as farmers have long advocated for the ability to repair their own equipment without needing to go through costly, company-approved service centers. The company's resistance to providing the necessary tools and information has only widened the gap between itself and its customers. The right to repair is not merely a technical issue, it's an emotional one. Farmers take immense pride in their self-sufficiency and want the freedom to fix their own equipment, keeping operations smooth without relying on outside technicians for minor issues. By withholding critical information, the company is sending a message that undermines this independence, suggesting that farmers are not capable of handling their own repairs and need the company's assistance at a price. For farmers who have supported the brand for generations, this stance feels like a slap in the face, and the repercussions are starting to show. Farmers are speaking out, and the frustration is palpable. The idea of paying tens of thousands of dollars for a piece of equipment and then not being able to repair it yourself is infuriating. Deere's reluctance to budge on this issue has turned what could have been a small concession into a major point of contention. It's yet another example of a company putting profits over people, and the backlash is growing. John Deere has always marketed itself as being on the side of the farmer. Partners in